أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Before we begin the lesson, there were a few questions with regards to the ayah that we learned in Surah Qaf. ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. That a person does not utter any word except that there is an angel who is raqib, watchful, meaning he doesn't miss a word, and he's atid, ready to catch the word, meaning anything he utters, it is written, it is recorded. In the explanation of this verse, I had mentioned a story about who? A particular woman of the past who, whenever she spoke through the ayat of the Qur'an. Now, remember that the story is not about a companion. It is not about the Prophet ﷺ either. It is about two people of the past. Abdullah ibn Mubarak was not a companion. He was of the later generations. He was a pious man. He was a knowledgeable man. And some people have said that the story is not true. You may have heard about it. You may have been informed about it. However, remember that even if it's not true, what was the objective of mentioning the story? Or is there a lesson that can be learned from the story? Yes. And that's a big lesson that we can learn, which is that a person should be careful about his speech. Obviously, the intent was not to tell you that you should replace your speech with Qur'an, but rather the intent was that we should be careful about speaking. That whatever we're saying, is it relevant, is it meaningful, is it necessary or not? And whatever we say, we should be careful about it. Now definitely the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that is the best example for us. And we see that the Prophet ﷺ, he spoke in normal words. Isn't it so? But at the same time, he spoke that which was useful, that which was relevant, and that which was necessary. We don't find him chatting unnecessarily with his companions. So, yes, the story is, according to many, not authentic. However, even if somebody made that story up, isn't there a huge lesson in it? And many times we see that for the purpose of ibrah, for the purpose of teaching a lesson, stories are narrated. Isn't it so? Many times we see that children's books that are made, and through which lessons are to be taught, are they always 100% accurate? Meaning, did that event actually happen? Not necessarily. The skits that you present over here, are those actually stories that had happened? No. But there's an ibrah in that, a lesson in that. Isn't it so? So this was the objective of mentioning the story. And secondly, there was also a question concerning the fact that is every single word written? Because the ayah says, مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. I mentioned to you two opinions. Isn't it so? One opinion was that some scholars say that every single word of a person is written. Because this is what we learn from the ayah. مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ. Qawlin is what? Any word, any statement that a person utters. Intentionally, unintentionally, consciously, unconsciously, however he says it, it is recorded. And this opinion is supported by many evidences of the Qur'an and Sunnah. For example, in Surah Qaf, what do we learn? That on the Day of Judgment, when the kitab will be given, what will happen? What will the people say? مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. It does not leave out anything small or big except that it has recorded it. Similarly, we see that the scholars of the past, one of them, he was at his deathbed and he was sighing in pain. And it happens that when a person is in pain, he sighs. So he was told that this sighing is also being written. So be careful about what you utter from your mouth. Because you don't want that the last moments of your life, you're saying something that is negative or you're complaining by your sighing. So we learned that he stopped sighing. Similarly, we learned that once there were these women who were constantly talking. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she was present over there, so she told them, stop talking and give a break to your angels. So we learned that this is how the companions even understood. This is how the scholars of the past have understood that every single word that a person utters is recorded. It is written. Now with the mercy of Allah, with a person's repentance and his seeking forgiveness, it's up to Allah. He can erase whatever He wills. Isn't it so? And He can also call a person to account for whatever He wills. Like for example, we have learned earlier that when a person says something unintentionally, like for example, he says wallahi, bala wallahi, unintentionally without thinking. This is what? Lagh in swearing oaths. But what do we learn from the Qur'an? لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم. Isn't it so? So everything is written. However, it is Allah's decision whatever He wipes off, whatever He calls a person to account for, and whatever He forgives and He ignores. It is up to Allah. But the point is, the main lesson is that we should be careful before we speak, and also after we speak. That it's quite possible we say something unintentionally, but just because we have said it doesn't mean we cannot apologize. Doesn't mean we cannot do istighfar. Of course we can. Something that has been said wrong, okay, it was a mistake, but you do have the chance to seek forgiveness. Isn't it so? So that is the point of this ayah. We learn from a hadith which is reported in Musnad Ahmad, that when a person commits a sin, when a person does something wrong, whether he says something wrong or he does something wrong, the angel is told to hold the pen for 6 short periods of time. Meaning he's told not to record it instantly, but rather wait for how long? 6 short periods of time. And if a person seeks forgiveness, meaning he realizes within those 6 short periods of time, then what happens? A good deed is written for him. And if a person does not seek forgiveness, then that sin is recorded for him. You understand? So, we learn from various ahadith that the deeds are written. Isn't it so? But after even they're written, or before they're written, if a person seeks forgiveness, if a person changes his ways, look at the mercy of Allah, look at the forgiveness of Allah, then He will also ignore what you've done, what you've said. This is why we make dua, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا, that, oh Allah, forgive us. Cover our mistakes. Isn't it so? So many words are used for forgiveness. Afu, ghufran. What does afa mean? To wipe off. Isn't it so? So why do we make all of these du'as seeking forgiveness? So that what has been recorded, what has been written, what is to be recorded, it is wiped off. It is erased by the mercy of Allah. But regardless, this ayah is a clear warning that مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. Therefore, a person must be very careful about what he speaks, when he speaks, how he speaks. Is it relevant? Is it necessary? Is it useful? Or is it just without a reason that a person is talking, making his scales of evil, of mubah, heavy? So we should become very careful. Anyway, let's continue. Lesson number 270 will begin from ayah number 36 of Surah Qaf. وَكَمْ أَهْلَكْنَا قَبْلَهُمْ مِنْ قَرْنٍ. And how many a generation we have destroyed before them. Before who? Before the people of Makkah. Before these people who are denying presently. So many generations of the past have been destroyed. And the generations of the past, what were they like? هُمْ أَشَدُّ مِنْهُمْ بَطْشًا. They were greater than them in striking power. The people of the past were much stronger than who? The people of the present. Especially when it comes to batsh. What does batsh mean? Military might. Striking power. The power to attack someone. Like for example, the people of Ad, the people of Fir'aun, they had huge armies. Fir'aun is known as Dhul Awtad, the possessor of pegs. Why? Because whenever he used to travel, he took his armies with him. And when they camped, they had to pitch their tents. And for that, they used to use pegs. So this is how the people of Fir'aun came to be known, Dhul Awtad. So hum ashaddu minhum batusha. And what did the people of the past do? فَنَقَّبُوا فِي الْبِلَادِ. So they explored throughout the lands. They traveled throughout the lands. هَلْ مِن مَحِيص. Is there any place of escape? فَنَقَّبُوا. Naqabu is from the root letters Nun, Qaf, Ba. And naqaba is to penetrate, to drill through, to make a hole through something. This is the meaning of the word naqaba. To bore, to pierce, to make a hole. In particular, it is to make a hole through a wall or a piece of leather. This is the meaning of the word naqaba. And naqaba, yunaqqibu, tanqib, what does that mean? That they went through the lands, tunneling through the lands, making holes through the lands. What does that mean? That by their travel, their settlement, their building, they went through so many cities, they left so many impressions, that as they traveled to different places. And when they settled, فَنَقَّبُوا فِي الْبِلَادِ. They made holes through the earth. Secondly, naqabu has also been understood as that they explored. They explored through the lands. Because when a person is trying to verify some information, he's trying to investigate a matter, he's trying to explore something, then he has to do what? Open up things, make holes through things, isn't it so? Look into things, peep into things, look here, look there. So فَنَقَّبُوا فِي الْبِلَادِ, meaning they thoroughly explored the lands in their travels, in their journeys, in their conquests. The people of the past who were so mighty, so strong in their attacking power, that they didn't just stay in their homes. No, they went through the cities, conquering one after the other. And this is what we learn about Fir'aun especially, isn't it so? That he conquered many lands, one after the other, one city after the other. And in that process, نَقَّبُوا. But Allah says, هَلْ مِن مَحِيص? Is there any refuge? What does it mean by this, هَلْ مِن مَحِيص? Meaning, these people, they traveled here and there. They conquered one place after the other. They built great structures everywhere they went. However, could they find any escape from the punishment of Allah when it came upon them? No, they couldn't. هَلْ مِن مَحِيص? Is there any escape? Could they find any escape from the punishment of Allah? They could not. They inflicted a lot of harm on the people of the world. They committed a lot of injustice. But when the punishment came upon them, they could find no refuge. هَلْ مِن مَحِيص? There is no refuge. Then it has also been said that فَنَقَّبُوا فِي الْبِلَادِ, they traveled through the earth. Why? To search in order to find an escape from death. But could they find any escape from death? They could not. هَلْ مِن مَحِيص? No. We learn in Surah Al-Zukhruf, ayah number 8, فَأَهْلَكْنَا أَشَدَّ مِنْهُمْ بَطْشًا وَمَضَى مَثَلُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. And we destroyed greater than them in striking power. And the example of the former peoples has preceded. When the punishment of Allah came, there was no escape. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَذِكْرًا. Indeed, in that is surely a reminder. But a reminder of what? It's a reminder of Allah's power. Allah's power to punish. His ability to destroy, no matter how strong a person may be, no matter how strong a civilization may be. But if a civilization, if a people, if they disobey Allah, if they turn away from Allah, there is no refuge. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَذِكْرًا. But this dhikra, who will take it? Who will benefit from it? لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ. For the one who has a qalb, for the one who has a heart. What does it mean by this? For the one who has a heart. Meaning the one who has a living heart, a conscious heart, a sensitive heart. Because the stories of the people of the past, their advances, their final end, it is known to many people. Isn't it so? Perhaps if you ask an archaeologist, if you ask a historian, they can tell you much about the people of the past. Much more than you could ever even imagine. Because of their research, because of their studies, because of their exploration. However, do they take a lesson? Not necessarily. This lesson is only for who? The one who has a qalb. What kind of qalb? A qalb that is alive, a qalb that is living, a qalb that is conscious. That heart, the possessor of such a heart, that person, he will take a lesson. أَوْ أَلْقَى السَّمْعَ. Or he listens attentively, or he casts some hearing. Alqa, to cast, to offer. That he casts, what does he cast? As-sam'a, the hearing. Meaning he lends ear. He tries to listen attentively and carefully. وَهُوَ shaheed, while he's also a witness. A witness, what does it mean by this? Meaning while he is present. Because a person can only bear witness when he is present. So shaheed over here means present. Present how? Present in heart, present in mind. So in other words, he is also attentive. So there is a huge lesson, dhikra. But who will take that lesson? The one who has a living heart. The one who tries to listen. And the one who is attentive. Because if a person is not physically and mentally attentive, if a person is not physically and mentally present, then can he understand? Can he take a lesson? No, he cannot. In Surah Al-A'raf, ayah 179, we learn, لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. So what kind of a heart is beneficial? The one that a person does not understand anything with? No. A heart that is alive. وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا أُولَئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ أُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. So in order to take a lesson, a person must open up his heart. A person must listen attentively. A person must be mentally present as well. So who will take a lesson? Those who are attentive. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ. And we have certainly created the heavens and the earth. وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا. And whatever that is between them two. How? In how long? فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ. In 6 days. Allah has created the heavens and the earth and whatever that is between in how long? 6 days. وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ. And there touched us no weariness. When Allah created all of this, just imagine the size of the earth. Just imagine the size of the oceans, of the mountains, of the sky above, of everything that is in the skies. Allah created all of that. وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ. And He did not get tired at all. He did not suffer from any fatigue. Lughub from the root letters, lam, ghain, ba. And lughub is to get tired because of the magnitude of the task that the person is performing. It's so huge, it's so big, it's so great, that when a person does it, he gets exhausted, he gets tired. And also, he gets tired, why? Because of the effort that that task requires. You know, some things you can do, and you don't really have to put in much effort. Like for example, if you're baking something, what do you have to do? Just assemble all the ingredients, put it in the oven, take it out after an hour. Isn't it? Does that require much effort? No, it doesn't. But on the other hand, if you're cooking something on the stove, then what does that mean? You have to keep standing over there by the stove. You have to keep checking. You have to keep stirring. Isn't it so? After every some time, you have to add some ingredient. You have to do something or the other to the pot that's on the stove. So, it requires more effort. Isn't it? So there are two types of tasks. One task is that which requires a lot of effort, and the other is that which does not require much effort. Lughub is fatigue, exhaustion, tiredness that a person suffers. Why? Because of doing something that requires a lot of effort. Meaning if you're tired at the end, you're genuinely tired. You understand? But over here we see Allah created the heavens and the earth and whatever that is between. وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ. But still Allah did not get tired at all. He did not get tired at all. He did not suffer from any fatigue. What does this emphasize? What does this make clear to us? The power of Allah, the strength of Allah, the ability of Allah, that if Allah can create all of this and still not get tired, how could you think that it's difficult for Allah to recreate? It's difficult for Allah to resurrect. Because if you notice from the beginning of the surah, what's the theme? Resurrection. That Allah is all able to recreate. He's all able to resurrect. So if Allah can create all of this and not get tired, He is more than powerful. He is very much capable to recreate everything as well. In Surah Qaf, ayah 33, we learn, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَلَمْ يَعْيَ بِخَلْقِهِنَّ بِقَادِرٍ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يُحْيِيَ الْمَوْتَى بَلَىٰ إِنَّهُ عَلَىٰ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Do they not see that Allah who created the heavens and the earth, and He did not fail in their creation, meaning He completed their creation, He didn't just leave them halfway through. No, He didn't fail in the creation. He is able to give life to the dead. He is able to do that. Can we not infer from this that if Allah can create the first time so perfectly, so completely, He can recreate again? Of course. Indeed, He is over all things competent. Fasbir. So be patient. Meaning the evidences are clear. The resurrection, it is obvious, it is logical, it makes perfect sense. And the warning has also been given very clearly. But still if the people don't believe, still if they deny, still if they doubt and they oppose you, then what should you do? Fasbir, be patient. Over what? عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ. Over what they say. They say negative things to you, they call you a liar, they argue with you, just be patient over what they say. Because once a person has conveyed to his best, he has presented the evidences, he has presented the warning, and yet the other person doesn't believe, then it's not his fault. Da'wah work, the work of da'wah, the work of calling people to Allah, it requires a lot of patience from the beginning to the end. Therefore, fasbir, be patient over what they say. And you see, a person needs sabr from the beginning to the end. He cannot carry out this responsibility of calling people to Allah without any patience. Because what happens is that when you tell someone, what do you want? Immediate results. Isn't it? When you tell someone, you want them to accept instantly. You want them to believe immediately. But the thing is, you tell, they don't accept. You make it clear, they don't agree. So in that case, should you give up? Should you? No. What do you need over there? Patience. So fasbir ala ma yaqulun. Be patient over what they say. Don't give up. Keep conveying. وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. And glorify with the praise of your Lord. Busy yourself in the tasbih of Allah. Why has this been said right after sabr? Because you see, when a person does sabr, what does it mean? He's not arguing. Isn't it so? Like for example, somebody gives you a very bad name, they call you with a very bad name, they insult you in public. They openly contradict you. Is that difficult? It's very difficult. At that moment, what do you want to do? Say something back to them. But what does Allah say? Fasbir. Be patient over what they say. Meaning, don't say anything. Now you've swallowed something. Isn't it so? You've swallowed your pride. You've swallowed that sip of anger. It's inside of you. Now when it's inside, does it still keep burning and boiling? Of course, it does. And many times we say that, let people speak, let people say whatever they have to, because if they don't, then they will become psychologically unstable or they will become emotionally unstable. And that they will erupt one day. But the thing is, Allah wants us to do sabr. And when you have swallowed that sip of anger and pride, and it's inside, it's boiling inside, to calm that down, to get rid of that, you have to turn to Allah. This is why after sabr comes what? Tasbih. Wasabbih. So if a person does tasbih, then he will not erupt someday. You understand? It will not make him emotionally, psychologically unstable. Because the example of the Prophet ﷺ, the example of his companions is right before us. Throughout their time in Makkah, they were not allowed to take any kind of revenge. Isn't it? And they were not even allowed to compromise on religion. They were not allowed to leave either. Isn't it so? The Prophet ﷺ was not allowed to leave Makkah. Just imagine 13 years of persecution. Any normal person, what would happen to him? Any other person, what would happen to him? He would probably get emotionally, psychologically unstable. Isn't it so? But do we find anything like that in the Prophet and his companions? Nothing. Then what does it show? That sabr is possible. When you control your emotions, when you control your anger, when you control your feelings, it doesn't necessarily make you erupt one day. No. You just have to seek Allah's help to eliminate those feelings. You have to seek Allah's help to calm yourself down on the inside. And what's that solution? Allah tells us over here, وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. And glorify with the praise of your Lord when? قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ الْغُرُوبِ. Before the rising of the sun and also before the setting of the sun. What does it mean by tasbih over here? Two meanings have been understood. First of all, tasbih as in tasbih meaning dhikr, subhanallah, subhanallahi wa bihamdihi. And secondly, tasbih has also been understood as salah. Because salah, what does that include? Tasbih. Isn't it so? In ruku', in sujood, at the beginning of salah, what are we doing? Tasbih. So, وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ الْغُرُوبِ. Now, if we take the meaning of tasbih over here as dhikr, then in the morning and before sunset, قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ, before the rising of the sun and before the sun sets. These are the two times that a person must busy himself in the dhikr of Allah. You know why? Why do you think so? As the sun is setting, darkness is falling. You feel sad. Even if there's nothing wrong. The day is coming to an end. You feel sad. And if a person is already sad, imagine how much more sad he will be. People who are suffering from depression and sadness, what happens at night time? Can they relax? No. Their depression gets much worse during the hours of the night. So at this time, busy yourself in the tasbih of Allah. And in the morning as well. And if we take the meaning of tasbih to be salat, then what does it refer to? قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْس. Which salah is this? Fajr salah. And قَبْلَ الْغُرُوب, before the sun sets. Before the sun sets. Asr. And before that is also Zuhr. So, over here, 3 salawat are indicated. We learn, Imam Ahmad has recorded that Jarir ibn Abdullah, he said, when we were sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, he looked at the full moon and he said, certainly, you will be brought before your Lord and will see Him as you see this moon, and you will have no trouble in seeing Him. So if you can avoid missing the prayer before the sunrise and the prayer before sunset, you must do so. Meaning don't miss your Fajr and do not miss your Asr either. And then he recited this ayah, وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ الْغُرُوبِ وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ, and also in part of the night. Meaning also do tasbih in a part of the night. What does it mean by this وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ? Which portion is this? Which part is this? This part, it refers to the early part. Or we can say the later part. Some have said min al-layl, it refers to Maghrib and Isha, and others have said that it also refers to Tahajjud Salah. So وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْهُ, and also وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ, and after prostrations. Don't just limit yourself to tasbih at the times of prayer, but also do tasbih when? وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. Adbar. Adbar is a plural of dubur. And dubur means back, right? Behind. And adbar as-sujud, behind the prostrations, what does it mean? After the prostrations. How do we understand this? Some have said that what this means is that after you perform the salah, because tasbih, what does that refer to? Salah. So you performed Fajr Salah, Dhuhr Salah, Asr Salah, Maghrib Salah, Isha Salah. You busy yourself in praying. You're busy yourself in glorifying Allah, seeking His help. Now after that Salah also, do tasbih. So what does it mean? That don't just limit yourself to obligatory prayer, but also pray voluntary prayer. And after you finish your Salah, don't just start talking instantly and going about with your work. No, also do tasbih at that time. This is why make sure you do your adhkar, which are to be recited after salah as well. Because Allah says, وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. Don't limit tasbih to salah only. That from Allahu Akbar to Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Only during that time you're doing tasbih. No, after that as well. Continue to do tasbih throughout the day. After salah, do dhikr. After performing the fard, pray your sunnah, pray your nawafil. وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. And some have said that in particular it refers to 2 rak'ah after Maghrib prayer. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ, min al-layl refers to Maghrib Isha. So it refers to 2 rak'ah sunnah when? After the fard. So وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْهُ وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. And this also shows to us that a person should not think that just because he is doing tasbih in salah, that is sufficient. Just because he is praying salah, that is sufficient. No. The more you pray, the more you remember Allah, the more you turn to Allah, that is better for you. Like we learned earlier, that Jannah is promised to who? لِكُلِّ أَوَّابٍ حَفِيظٍ. Who is Awwab? The one who is constantly turning to Allah. قَلْبٍ munib, constantly turning to Allah. So such a person will not just remember Allah in prayer, but he will also remember Allah وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. He will not just limit his salah to the fard salah, but he will also pray the sunan and the nawafil. أَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. Many times people say, oh, fard is fard, that's it, I'm just going to pray fard. Why do I have to pray sunnah? Why do I have to pray nafil? This is the evidence. وَأَدْبَارَ السُّجُودِ. Also pray sunnah. Also do your dhikr. We learned that some poor immigrants, they came to the Messenger ﷺ and they said, oh Allah's Messenger, the wealthy people will get higher grades and will have permanent enjoyment. And he said that, how come? So they said, they pray as we do, they fast as we do, but they give charity and we cannot give charity. They free slaves and we cannot do that. So they will get more reward than us. They will be in Jannah and they will enjoy so much reward. So the Prophet ﷺ said, shall I tell you about something that if you did it, you would catch up with those who have surpassed you? They give sadaqah, you cannot give sadaqah. They free slaves, you cannot free slaves. But if you do something that I tell you, you will become equal to them in reward. Except for those who do the same. And he said, say, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, 33 times each after every prayer. Just imagine. Say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. How many times? 33 times after each prayer, after every prayer. When you will do that, you will get the reward of who? Of who? Those who give sadaqah and those who free slaves. Just imagine the reward of freeing slaves. Now later, those same companions, they came to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, "O Allah's Messenger, our brothers, the wealthy Muslims, heard of what we did and they've also started doing it. Now what?" So the Prophet ﷺ said, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. That is a fadl of Allah, which He gives to whomsoever He wills. But the fact is that every single person has this opportunity, doesn't he? After salah, can we not say it? Of course we can. But it's up to us whether we do or not. If we do it, good for us. If we don't, we're only depriving ourselves. And if you think about it many times, why is it that we are not able to do our adhkar after salah? Why? Talking. Isn't it so? We like talking to people around us. It's as though we cannot wait. But what did we learn earlier? That if a person starts controlling his tongue, if a person begins to limit his speaking, his talking, his conversation, I'm not saying become silent all the time, but limit it to that which is necessary, that which is beneficial. So if a person does that, then will he not have time to do more dhikr? Will he? Of course he will have. But if we talk excessively all the time, important, unimportant, then obviously we will not find the time to do dhikr. We will not find the time to recite the Qur'an. So over here we see that the Prophet ﷺ is being told, be patient, and to help you have that patience, what should you do? Busy yourself in the tasbih of Allah, in the dhikr of Allah. And also busy yourself in performing the salah. And also after you have performed the salah, don't forget to remember Allah. But remember Allah throughout the day, throughout the night. Become who? Awwab. We learn in Surah Al-Hijr, ayah 98, فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَكُمْ مِنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. So exalt with praise of your Lord and be of those who prostrate to Him. Be of those who prostrate to Him. Because what does Allah say? وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. So do sabr and also pray. This is how you will become calm inside. وَاسْتَمِعْ, and listen, meaning listen attentively, pay attention. On what? Yawma, on the day. Yunadi, He will call. Who will call? Al-Munadi, the caller. Where will He call from? Min makanin qareeb, from a place that is very near. Wastami', and listen to. Listen to what? Listen to the call. Which call? When will it be? It will be on the day when the caller will call. Which call is this? Which nida is this? This is the blowing of the trumpet. The call for resurrection. And who is the caller referring to? The angel Israfil. And where will he call from? Min makanin qareeb, from a place that is very near. Meaning the call, the blowing of the trumpet will be so loud and clear that the listener will think that it is coming from a very near place. You know when you hear something and the sound is not loud or the sound is not clear, then it's as though it's coming from a very far off place. But if the sound is clear, it is loud, you can hear every single word, every single letter clearly, then it's as though somebody is talking to you from right before you, right next to you. So this is how loud and clear the trumpet will be. So وَاسْتَمِعْ يَوْمَ يُنَادِ الْمُنَادِ مِن مَكَانٍ قَرِيبٍ. Why has this been said all of a sudden? Why has this been said all of a sudden? What's the relationship of this with the previous ayah? That be patient, busy yourself in the tasbih of Allah, in the worship of Allah. And remember that a day is coming when the caller will make the call. So prepare for that day. Worry about that day. And when a person is worried about that day, then it becomes easier to do sabr. It becomes easier to do tasbih.